Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm going to play the intro again to allow all of us to have the chance to share. It's a very quick intro, but hey, it's Eric and Marie here on Time with Eric and Marie. We're so happy to come your way, and good evening to you all. I'm just going to play that video again. Good evening once again. So thank you all who have joined us so far. It's Eric and Marie. It's Time with Eric and Marie, a program where we talk about all things marriage and personal development. So if you've joined us, that is who we are. That is the program that you're on, and you're welcome, welcome, welcome.
Good evening, everybody. I hope that you are all doing great. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's been 2 weeks now since we've been here. Just as Eric said, tonight's program is about marriage and personal development. How do we develop ourselves? How do we enhance our marriages? Make sure that we are enjoying a blissful marriage. Life can be very short. It's important that if we are in a relationship, if we are in a marriage, we have to ensure that we are happy. It's about our happiness in the marriage. It's about how well we are communicating, how effectively we are helping to build one another up. So yes, join us in a few minutes. Let's spend a few minutes to share the video. Go ahead and share, copy the link, put it into groups. Share the link into groups, copy it, put it into WhatsApp groups, etc. And draw your friends here. Invite all your friends to come and be a part of this amazing next 1 hour. We're going to make sure we stick strictly to an hour today because we have to hop onto a Zoom conference as well. But otherwise, good evening to everybody and thanks for joining us.
And those of you who know how to host a host party, we encourage you to host that host party. If you click on share, it will give you the option to host a watch party, actually, I should say. Watch party is where you invite all your friends to be a part of what is going on through you sharing it in that medium. So yes, it's so dark in here already. Winter is around the corner. Georgina Esbimpon, good evening to you. Georgina says, good evening, Mr. and Mrs. For everyone else who has joined in, just type in hello, type in hi, and we'll give you a shout out back. So we've got about 3 more people who are there. Okay, we're going to share it to several platforms, other platforms, and we'll make sure that it reaches far and wide. But we're so happy to come your way. And tonight, we are going to talk about marriage. Most of the time, we talk about personal development, and sometimes we talk about marriage. But tonight is going to be about marriage. So tonight's topic will be, and I'll put the topic out there, how to spot the red flags. How to spot the red flags. That is what we're going to talk about today. Many a times, as Marie said, marriage is about happiness. Marriage is about how you live your full life together as husband and wife. But most of the time, things do crop up and that doesn't get fulfilled. So Adelaide Inketia from my end, hi. Bismarck Johnson, Ratib Kande, Frank Sally Brown, Elvis Callon, you're all watching. Abdul Rashid is also watching as well. Welcome to all of you. Type in the comment box. Let us know where you've actually joined in from, and we'll say hello to you.
Right. So I also have from my watch party a few beloveds who have joined. Let me say hi to a beautiful sister from the United States. I think it's her first time watching Time with Eric and Marie. Baba Pets. Hello, Baba. I hope you're doing great, and I hope your family is doing well. Thanks for joining us. We also have Owusu Setra is here. John K. Jemfi is here. Berryman, Anaya Bobo, Trey in Cancer. Fred Duho. Fred is here. Hello, Fred. I hope you're doing well.
Hi.
We also have Elo Mensa is here. He or she says good evening. So good evening back to you. And then we have Kumbi Ali Balogun says you hardly come across You hardly come across learned Ghanaians. Really? Are you sure?
There are a lot of us out there.
Are you sure? There's so many learned Ghanaians around everywhere. Many of us are learned Ghanaian people. So, but anyway, thank you so much. Thank you. Samba Amadou, good friend of mine on Facebook. Hello, Samba. Thanks for joining us this evening from Bordeaux, France. Barbara Pet says, love you loads. Love you more, Barbara. Thanks for joining. Elvis Calon says, really like your program. Indeed, you are touching lives. Thank you. Thank you, Elvis. And then my uncle Charles is here. Uncle Charles, good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, everyone.
Owusu Setra, I believe I've mentioned your name as well.
So Owusu Setra, Ratib Kande says, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Hi, Ratib, how you doing? We've got Stephen Bodo, Samba Amadou, as Marie said, and we've got Kwame Polali, Ajman Jeffrey, Baba Cosmos, Uncle Charles, and then Gordon B. Let me go to my personal page and see what's happening there as well. I'd just like to thank everyone for joining us this evening before we start the actual program. But it's lovely having all of you here. Please do us a favor, share the video, invite your friends, and make sure that we all enjoy what is going on this evening in terms of the topic that we're going to discuss, which will be about how to spot the red flags. Even before you go into the relationship, these are symptoms that you should look out for. I'm not saying go and spy, make that conscious effort to see it so that you are just marking every single step of your partner. But I'm saying that be aware. What we're saying is that be aware of these signs so that you advise yourself before you lock yourself into any long-term relationship. And that is what we're saying here.
Right. So tonight, as Eric said, we're going to be talking about how to spot the red flags right at the onset of the relationship. Because I always say that whatever transpires, whatever characteristics or behavior that shows its head in our marriages, we must have seen glimpses of it at the start of the relationship. But we often ignore the red flags when they show up because we are so much in love. We believe we are in love, so we tend to overlook them, especially as the ladies. And tonight we'll go a little bit deep into it. But let me carry on with the greetings. We have Ernest O'Neill Ahiaba says, just joined the program. Good evening, Ernest. Thanks for joining. Ajimine Jeffrey says, hi, Marie. Hello, Ajimine. Baba Pet says, I enjoy you both. Thank you, Baba. We appreciate that. Efia Hatchery is here. Elolo Mensah is just laughing. And then we have Kumbi said, I'm so proud of you sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you. And Elvis Calon says, really like your program. Indeed. Okay, I think I read that earlier on.
That's right.
And somebody said something. Okay, Kumbi said, watching from Chicago.
Hi, Kumbi.
I just love your audacity of hope. So we bring a little bit of Barack Obama into it, right?
That's great. That's great.
You're fearless.
I've also got Senior Albert Owusu. Senior says, good to see you all remotely, and another lovely evening, Mr. Mrs. Hi, Senior. How you doing? Senior Kasala, we greet you.
Senior, good evening.
And then we've got Kobe Edu who says, good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Kobe. It's been a long time, but I hope you're doing well. So great. It's good to see all of you on here. We normally come together every 2 weeks talking about all things personal development and marriage. We've been married for the past 23 years, and to the glory of God, God has blessed us with some level of knowledge to do with marriage. And we've also lived through our highs and lows. So we thought, you know what? Let's share our story. Let us share what we've learned from this journey so far. It might help someone. So what we do here is we don't come here to prescribe how we live our life onto yourself, because no two single marriages are the same. All we do is that we share our story. We also share the knowledge that God has blessed us with so that it can edify, so that it can bless. Someone might pick just one sentence from what we are saying, apply it to their marriages or their relationships, and be blessed.
Yeah.
And be blessed. That is why we're here. Our Senior Albert, I've read your message already. Right. Okay. So let's get started.
We have Nick Walker as well from Dubai.
That's right.
Thanks for joining.
And then Kofi Prempeh. We don't want to miss anyone out, but we need to get going because, as Marie said, we've got, let's say, 45 minutes, and then we jump on to a Zoom call.
Hello, G-Man. G-Man is also here.
Hi, G-Man.
Is here.
And we'll let you know what that Zoom call is all about at the latter end of the program. So let's get started. Let's get started. Have you all shared it? Please let me know whether you've shared it or not. Give me a thumbs up in the comment section. Let me know you've invited all your friends. Nana Abna, good evening as well. Right. So how do you spot red flags? First of all, let's look at what the red flags are, because this is a terminology that we've used over a long period of time. We've actually taught this message over and over. We've spoken about it in our previous videos. And those people like Kobe Adus, Nyakasala, you'd hear us talk about red flags over and over in our videos. But what are red flags? What are red flags? So I would say red flags are characteristics. They are behaviors that, if not dealt with, so they are negative behaviors, if not dealt with, can escalate into something really bad in a relationship. Really bad in a relationship. That is what we term as red flags in a relationship. Did you have anything to add to that definition?
I think red flags, for me, when it comes to red flags, how I would define red flags is, I think that the meaning is in the term itself, red flag. When something is a red flag, it's a warning sign. It's a warning to you. And oftentimes at the start of every relationship, we tend to see certain characteristics, certain behavior, things that we're not happy about. But we often say that, oh, we turn a blind eye to them, and we tend to say to ourselves, oh, when we get in the marriage, I will change the person, or they will change. We love each other. Things are going to change. Let's just go ahead and get married. Some of these things, or some examples of the red flags, could be anger, the way they behave when they are angry. People have different ways of dealing with anger. And so if you're in a relationship with somebody who is not able to really take charge and control of themselves when they're angry, and they really let themselves go over the slightest thing, they're throwing their hands, they're throwing their wits about, they're breaking things, etc., right at the start of the relationship, that is a major red flag. Another red flag is control. Control, when somebody is controlling or too domineering in a relationship at the start of it, it is a red flag. You ought to be careful. These are some of the things that you need to talk about right at the start of the relationship. Try and have an understanding of where the person is coming from, where these behavioral traits are coming from, where these characteristics are coming from. It could be from their upbringing, from their childhood, just what they witnessed when they were young, etc., experiences they've had growing up, some, not so pleasant, things they've witnessed, as I said, what type of childhood they had, what type of marriage their parents had. All of these things, whether they're coming from a single parent family, perhaps they were even an orphan, they were raised by some hardcore family members under some difficult situations, etc. What are some of the other examples? So we talked about anger, we talked about control, we've talked about even how they handle their finances, how they are with you at the start of the marriage in terms of money, in terms of their physical well-being, their health, how well they take care of themselves at the start of the family. If you are in a relationship with somebody right from the get-go, they're not taking good care of themselves, they just don't care, they let them, they've allowed themselves to go. It's all to do with the mental state. It's to do with the mental state. They are not a good communicator at the beginning of the marriage. They're not a good communicator. Or at the beginning of the relationship, they don't communicate so well. What makes you think that if they're not communicating well at the start, they will begin to communicate better once you enter into marriage? So these are things you need to look out for. There's, several others in terms of friendships, how they are with you around their friends, how they are with you around their family members. Do they have respect for you, or do they disrespect you, in the midst of other people, in the midst of strangers, in the midst of acquaintances, in the midst of friends and family? How well do they respect you? How do they treat you? Do they value you? Do they value your opinion? All of these things are very important for you to pay attention to at the start of every relationship before you get into marriage.
So Marie has mentioned a few of them. There are several others, but I don't want us to just mention everything. But we've just mentioned a few salient ones, and I want us to take them one by one and discuss them so that we break them down, give good examples, let it be relatable to us as we discussed. And if you have any contribution, feel free to just type it in the comment box, and we'll be more than happy to read it out, and then all of us discuss it. Right, the first one is anger. The second one is control. Third is finances. Fourth is communication. Fifth is health. We talk about even compromising in a relationship. And then we talk about vision, and then how you deal with your partner when friends are around. So let's take anger, for instance. The first one being anger. Marie cited a few examples, and I'd like to add more to it. You know, every single human being has the ability to be angry. Even Jesus said we should be angry, but we should not let the sun go down on our anger. So it means nobody is exempt from this emotional characteristics of a human being. It's like you saying that, oh, I don't breathe. No, everyone has the ability to be angry, but it is how you deal with your anger that matters, especially in a relationship. So, for example, if I, let's say, disagree with Marie on an issue, how I will be able to go through that discussion, how I'll be able to handle that situation matters a lot. Assuming that I disagree with her, and then through the process of discussing with her, I start just banging things and throwing TVs around and spoiling the TV behind me and just showing off my anger to that extreme level during the courtship time, that is a huge red flag that will lead to even something major when we get to marry. So for those of you who are courting, those of you who are in a relationship at this stage, this is one aspect that you should look out for. The way people behave when they are angry. It can be the man, it can be the woman. Let's say the tiniest thing, the lady that you are with starts insulting you using all manner of language, for instance, that is to the extreme. The least trigger, the man will start hitting you because they are angry. That is to the extreme. So that's one area that we should look at for when we are in a relationship with people. Anger, if not dealt with, can be very, very severe.
Yeah, I think, the anger one is a very serious one. I mean, at the slightest thing, they are angry, So, for example, I don't know what example to even give now, but you ask a very simple question that doesn't require them to be snappy with you, and they become very snappy. They don't want to know. In this modern day of technology, in this modern day of social media, you just want to know who is on their social media, who is their friend, who they're chatting with, who they're inboxing. They get angry, they get upset. It's not your business, and things like that. All of these are red flags. These are things that are communicating to you that he or she is somebody that is withholding information. They're withholding certain information from you. Because remember, we are talking about marriage here. If you are at the start of the marriage, you're looking to go into a long-term contract with each other. And so whatever is going to transpire in this long-term contract, you must begin to see traits of it right at the start. And if you're not seeing certain things at the start, the question is, what makes you think you're going to see it once you enter? Because this is us. Wherever we go as human beings, we bring our nature, we bring our true character. Well, some people can pretend. They're very good at pretending.
For years.
Again, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
You have to be careful.
Yeah.
There are people today who will tell you, that's not the woman I married. That's not the man I married. Because at the start, they were like this. At the beginning of the relationship, they were like that. Now they're a completely different person. There are two perspectives to that. Sometimes, yes, we could be one person, we evolve, we grow, so we develop different interests, passions, etc. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about that one person that you're looking at now in the marriage, your husband or your wife, and you can see certain behavioral traits, and you're able to trace all the way back to the start of the relationship when you met them, and you can say to yourself, I saw this at the start. Why didn't I deal with it then? Well, many of us didn't know to deal with it because we had not been taught to even look out for them, identify them, let alone go try and resolve them or sort them out. This is why we are learning now. This is why we're having this conversation now, particularly for those who are aspiring to get into marriage. And if you're in it now, and these things are showing their heads, and you can now look back and say, I actually spotted this behavior at the beginning, then, well, there's an opportunity to sit your partner down and try and resolve issues. Now, Barbara Pett also added another very interesting point to it, how people even relate with their own parents. That could be a red flag. If you're with a man, for example, and he disrespects his mother in front of you, that's a clue right there of how he's going to treat you as a woman, because he has no respect for women. And sometimes it's not their fault. That's what they saw growing up. Daddy always disrespected mommy. So he doesn't know any better than to disrespect women. It's not his intention to do that, but that's what he knows. That's how he's been conditioned. That's how he's been programmed. It will take a certain level of maturity and awareness for him to deprogram himself and reprogram to put himself on a pathway to become a good husband, an amazing father, for yourself and for the children. Likewise, vice versa with the woman as well. She may have no respect for men, probably because she saw her father beating her mother all the time. And so she's developed some resentment. There's indifference towards, there's a lot of anger and resentment towards men. So now she's married, or she's at the start of a relationship. She just cannot bring herself to respect the man she's with. For some, it's even sexual molestation. She was molested as a child. She still is carrying a lot of anger and bitterness in her. Yes, she claims she loves you, but she just cannot bring herself to really open up to you. And if all these things are happening at the beginning of a relationship, they are red flags. You need to pay attention to them and resolve them then. Resolve them then. Try and find a means of resolving them then. Try and find solutions as to how you're both going to come out as better people before you proceed into marriage.
Yeah. Now that we're mentioning them, it's so easy to recognize these things. But when you're actually going through that journey, it's quite difficult for you to spot them. That's why we're talking about them early, or we're actually giving them names so that when you see them, you recognize them. Because earlier on in relationships, it's all about love, isn't it? Love can blind your eyes and you wouldn't actually see anything in the person. Everything is odo, and you wouldn't, odo in Ghana language means love. And you wouldn't see anything. So when they are exhibiting all these traits, you would either see it and pretend it didn't happen, or you would say, when we marry, he will change. When we marry, she will change.
Yeah.
And this can carry on and on and on and on. Or you would say that, okay, let me marry him anyway, or let me marry her anyway. I will change her. That is one of the biggest mistakes. I mean, who are you to go and just change a person? If it's his or her character for all these years, we have to allow ourselves to change.
Yeah.
So it is not you coming to force me to change that will let me change. So we shouldn't make that mistake that, I'll convert her and take her. Kind of like in the Christian world, for instance, we say convert and take. Yeah. We say, when we marry her, we'll convert her to be a Christian and take it. It's the biggest mistake. It is the biggest mistake. I'd rather talk it through with a person, make sure that we come to a level playing field where we understand each other and work together on ourselves, because nobody is perfect. Nobody is perfect. So when you see these traits that we've mentioned, the best thing to do is not to confront per se, as in a very negative way or a very pushy way, but sit down and talk it through. If the person loves you that much, if the person wants to spend the rest of their life with you that much, they'll be prepared to sit down and listen to you. Even if they won't take your point for now, at least they'll give you an ear with the objective to consider what you're saying. That is what true love means. It is love and respect that will take you through your marriage.
Yeah. And I'm going to share a story with us that my mother always used to tease my dad with. And if you've been following us for some time, I'm always talking about my parents when it comes to marriage, because my mother always used to say that my marriage or our marriage was one of the best that she had witnessed. Her and my father, yes, they loved each other, but for the most part, when I was growing up, I didn't really see that strong bond between them, although we knew they loved each other. And I'm sure most of you can attest to this, that Our parents' generation were not the type who were lovey-dovey, all over each other. Yes, we knew they loved each other, of course. That's why they stayed together till death do us part. But you'll never see them being clingy or anything like that, And sometimes I used to wonder, but you guys lived abroad. You guys lived in the UK for so many years. So why didn't you learn how the white people hold hands and, kiss each other in front of their kids? Anyway, that's just by the way. But my mother always used to share the story whenever she was teasing my dad. So sometimes, she'll ask my dad for something, and when he's being a bit difficult, she'll say, "Oh, I should have known." Wow, yeah, Pepe. For those of us who come from Ghana, oh yeah, Pepe. Pepe means you're stingy. You're stingy. And she always used to tease my dad that he was stingy, and she should have known right at the start. And then she would tell us this story. So it turns out that they met here in the UK. And it turns out that just before they got married, my mom used to live in her own flat, and my dad was moving into my mother's flat. On the day that my father was moving, he carried his things, his suits, his shirts on a hanger with his cousin, and they got on a bus. They got on a bus with the suits and everything in his hands, his things in a plastic bag, and moved from his flat to my mother's flat. And my mother said, she always used to say that was the day she should have known that my father was stingy, because he could not afford to take a cab, a taxi.
So that was her red flag, was it?
So that was her red flag.
Oh my goodness.
That was a red flag.
That was a red flag.
A red flag that she ignored. And she used to tell the story all the time, and my father would laugh. Ladies and gentlemen, this might be a very funny story, but that was a red flag right there. Yeah, it was a red flag.
Now, what we're saying doesn't mean that as soon as it's not a red flag, that is the end of that relationship. Yeah. No, we are encouraging you to spot these things so that you can actually work on them together. Because even within marriage, there are red flags. Once you get married, you start seeing more. Marriage doesn't mean once you get married, then that's the end of every red flag that you saw beforehand. You'll be seeing more, because Marie said that as human beings, we evolve. But the best way to deal with it is to talk it through.
That's right.
To talk it through.
And that's what Samba, let me read Samba Amadu's comment. Samba says, but some people have succeeded in marrying rude girls, and have managed to change them for the better. It's true. Because you see, love is different. Love conquers all, as they say. Love is the bigger picture. You love each other. You realize some flaws, and somebody has used the word flaws. I can't go back, but flaws is the right word.
That's right.
These are flaws, and every human being has flaws. Nobody is perfect. So when you love the person and you realize the flaws, i.e. the red flags, it is then your duty to bring it to their attention, yes, and see how best the two of you can correct. For this time, I think I will use the word correct. How the two of you can begin to fix some of these behavioral traits. Because you see, everybody is coming from different backgrounds. Everybody is coming from different experiences. Myself, for example, I am blessed to say before God Almighty, I never saw my father hit or beat my mother up. Never. So I don't know what it is, or what domestic violence looks like, because I never saw it growing up, and I have been blessed not to have experienced it. So when somebody is talking about domestic violence, I can only talk about it from what the book says and per other people's experiences they've shared with me. But I haven't seen it firsthand. I've only heard. I haven't seen it. I haven't experienced it. And I don't wish that on anybody. So people are coming from different experiences, different backgrounds, different kind of childhood situations. We have to be very sensitive when it comes to these matters. But the purpose of this evening's video is for you to for your eyes to be, wide open. For your eyes to be wide open, not for you to, because everybody sees these things. But what we are saying is that we often see them and ignore them.
Definitely.
We see them and we turn a blind eye to them. And then 10, 15, 20 years down the marriage, we start referring the person back to, oh, Ukrami Shia, I don't know what to say. Oh, when I first met you, you were like this. Well, you saw it then. You could have nipped it in the bud then. You could have done something about it then. You've allowed it to fester and linger on for years.
And
it makes life difficult.
That's something that creeps into marriage as well. During the, you saw the red flags, you didn't deal with it. Then during the course of the marriage as well, you see several things and you brush it under the carpet. So it will get to a time when this thing will just explode. There'll be just one event that will trigger everything. And what I mean by that is that, let's say you saw the person being controlling and you never brought it to the person's attention, whether your wife or your husband. Now, control is something that can creep in very gradually.
Yeah.
An example being, let's say, if you wear something, your husband will say, "Oh, I don't want you to wear that." Or if you have a haircut, your wife will say, "I don't like that, change that." There are elements of control that comes in a very slight way, and you might not notice it. But if you are able to notice it, it's better. Then if you go further to discuss it, to say, "Oh, Akwesi, idea way the same year, men are metal atari and pesamishe. As long as you're modest, dear, I am a fair into a toy. And you now the catches a shaway, men shaway. Now there are some people who go to the extent of choosing what their wives can buy, or choosing what their husband can buy without letting the people be. One thing that I would like to state for sure is that every human being has got their own right to be themselves. Now, that is a fundamental human right. So the fact that you get married doesn't mean that you lose your right as a human being. As married people, we should respect each other. And I've grown to learn this, that we are getting married to empower each other to be the best versions of ourselves. We are not just getting married to imprison each other. Because the moment it becomes like that, one party will not feel loved. They will not feel free to be themselves. They will not develop their full potential that God gave them. And they will not live their best lives now. So every day they'll be sad. They might be following you. You might think they are with you, but their mind is so far away from you. So when it comes to control, it's something that creeps in very gradually. And we need to spot it and talk about it. I think the key word this evening is the act of communication. Because that alone is a red flag. There are some people who don't want to talk. Even in a relationship, they are not good communicators. They are not interested in what you're saying. Even when you're talking to them, their mind is somewhere else. In these days where mobile phones have taken over our lives, they will be on their phone throughout the conversation. That is a red flag.
Yeah.
That is a red flag.
They're interested in what Kojo is saying rather than interested in what you are saying to them. Like when you're talking to them, they are not present in the moment. They are not listening to you. They're not present with you in the moment.
Let me add one thing to that as well. Sometimes they will be interested in what their friends are saying with regards to the same subject matter.
Yeah.
As you said, Kojo, will be interested. Rather than who they are going into a relationship with or who they are in a relationship with will say.
Yeah. And another aspect of it is anyone who tries to knock your self-esteem down. Right. So, for example, you come into a relationship, you meet them, you are very bold, you're confident, you know who you are, you've discovered yourself, and then all of a sudden they try to demean you. Mm-hmm. They try to knock your confidence down, by saying things like, "Oh, you're too loud, you're too loud, oh, you're too outspoken, mm-hmm. Oh, as a woman, obadie, tone it down. Oh, obadie, you couldn't pay me so kasa be bresa. Oh, obadie, as a woman. That's planting a seed. They're knocking you down. By the time you realize they have managed to reduce you to somewhere that you don't belong. They've knocked your self-confidence. They've knocked your self-esteem. You don't even recognize yourself anymore. And that is where they take control of your mind. So oftentimes when we say that ladies, especially women, be very careful when it comes to these things at the start of the relationship. We mean it. These are red flags. These are red flags. If you allow them to get so much into your head that they begin to take control of your mind, your thoughts, and everything is about them. Anybody who presents themselves in any relationship and is always I, me, you have to be very careful. Because if they are willing to enter into marriage with you, then the narrative needs to change. It is no longer I, it is no longer singular, it's plural, it's us, it's we. And for us, it took us a very long time for me to get to that level. And I'm being very honest here because I'm a firstborn. there has always been a lot of responsibility on me. So I have always been a leader right from childhood, setting an example for my brothers. You are the firstborn, it was drummed into me so much that I felt a sense of responsibility. So right at the start of the marriage, for quite a good number of years, it took me a while to really learn to let go of myself and allow my husband to come in and help me. I mean, there were times where he would suggest things to me and I'll say to him, "You're not my father."
Yeah, no, my father.
You're not my father.
That's an interesting one. But the way I dealt with it.
Yeah.
And these are some of the tips that we're giving, how we did it. We're not saying go and do exactly the same. The way I dealt with that is that I allowed her to be herself. Even when she was making a mistake and I knew that was a mistake, I allowed her to go through the process of making a mistake. And then she would come back and say, "Oh, Eric, you said this. Oh, that is it." You are not going to force yourself over someone. Yeah. We have something called a will. Everybody has got some. That will, nobody can take it from you. You can be suggestive in your way. The thing to do with marriage is that we should complement each other. Now, when there's a weakness in one, God in his infinite wisdom will give you someone who is strong in that area, the opposite area. So this is where we are coming to complement each other and support each other grow. Marriage is all about just empowering each other, as I said earlier on. And therefore, if we notice that in a certain area, our spouse is not well developed, the best thing to do is just give suggestions. Give suggestions. Don't force it, because it will take a long period of time. A habit is formed over 90 days. So imagine if your wife is about 25 years or 30 years, that has been embedded in the person. Yeah. It will take some time for them to change. So let's be quite, I'm not going to say forgiving, but let's understand the emotional side of things and deal with it in a very tactful manner.
Yeah. And that leads me to a question Samba has asked. Samba says, "My question is, initially you see the red flags in someone. You saw the red flags in the relationship. You try your best to resolve it, but the problem keeps on repeating itself. In this case, what do you do?"
Okay.
Well, in this case, the question back, I also will ask a question. Do you love the person? If you love the person, then patience. You need a lot of patience. Remember, I said, these are character traits. Some of these things, they can even be family traditions.
Oh, yeah.
They've been drummed into people that in our family, this is who we are. This is what we do.
Let me cite an example. You know, when in Ghana, a woman is going to marriage, they often advise her, "Hey, unya adi afebafi, se ukunya adi boni di adi." There's a saying of that sort, that if it's a positive thing, bring it back home. If it's negative, leave it with your husband. That is just a saying, but it can be embedded in there to such an extent that a wife might be going into a marriage with that at the back of their mind, that they are just going to seek for themselves and secure themselves for the future and bring it back home to their nuclear, to their own family from which they came to marry. That is wrong, for instance. So these are family characteristics that you might bring into your new marriage, your relationship.
Yeah.
And if you don't deal with it, that's it.
Some of these things can be family oriented. They are family characteristics, family traditions, cultures, and so on. So you have to be patient. You love the person. You've tried. The same behavior or the same character still keeps surfacing. You have to keep trying. You don't give up. But you do so in a very loving way. And sometimes the best way of handling some of these things is by you showing the example. Rather than telling them all the time that you are like this, you are like that, show an example of what you want, what you're looking for, what it should be. So, for example, they talk to you with a very sharp tone, in a very harsh way, very rude way. Show them an example of, how it is to be very polite. You've got to endure, because remember,
let's be blunt. Don't go tell them, "Oh, this is how it's done."
No, you don't say this is how it's done. You show it. Yeah, you show it. And this is why I always say in my videos that you have to model things for people. You have to model it. So, for example, there are some people there's some women who are just they are, how do I phrase it? They don't like tidying up.
Yeah,
they don't like tidying up. They're messy. Thank you. There are some women who can be very messy, as well as some men who can be messy.
Oh, the men
So
look around here.
you could be
A lot of us, you know,
Yeah.
who went to boys' school, we don't know how to tidy up.
You could be in a relationship with a lady who is very messy, and you're a guy who is very tidy. You know, you like your things to be, you know, spick and span. Everything is nice. You iron your clothes, your shirts a certain way. You know, you like
arrange your shoes.
you arrange your shoes in a particular way.
Your shirts are color coded. You know,
yes. And there are some guys like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then here comes a woman you've fallen in love with, and she throws one shoe there. Her wig, she takes it, she's there. Her mascara is in the bathroom somewhere on the floor. You're not happy about it. Yes, of course, you sit the person down, you tell them, but also show them. Show them. And the way you can show is, you know, sometimes just, sweetheart, can you come with me? I want to show you something in the bedroom. You open your wardrobe. Don't even say a word. Just let them have a look at the wardrobe, and they can see how you've arranged everything. And let that silence communicate to them. Let the silence and the visuals alone communicate to them. And when you finish, after you've stood there for maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, say to them, you know, may I kindly suggest to you that this is how I would want for us to present our bedroom. This is how I want for us to present our room. Rather than, and our bar way, the way you feel, you like it, you're too messy. As a woman, you're too messy. Can't you see your other colleague women? Can't you see this woman? And my last girlfriend was like this. No, she is not your last girlfriend. She's a queer. Your last girlfriend was Amma. Yeah, your last girlfriend was Amma. In fact, your last girlfriend comes from Volta region. She comes from Asante. They are two different people. You cannot expect them to be the same. So we have to find very clever ways, very mature ways of handling each other, because bottom line, we are human beings, and every human being, in fact, I've just finished taking a course in diplomacy. And what I've learned in this course over the last couple of months, it has been amazing how we deal with each other. You can even bring diplomacy into your marriage. In fact, marriage, yes, that's what I was going to say.
Fundamental, yes.
Marriage requires a lot of diplomacy. How you handle people, how you negotiate. That's one thing I learned in the course, how to negotiate. Because it's about negotiation, trying to come to some form of an amicable agreement so that we can move forward as better people and enjoy our relationship or enjoy our marriage.
Great. So I'll take a few comments from here. Justina Stevens says, great stuff. Apostle Bedu says, it's always a delight to watch you. It's a delight to hear from you as well, Apostle. Sheila Graham says, but I think men are always mature to spot the wrong things as compared to women. I've grown to learn how to listen to your partner if you really love him. Right. So on that note, I would comment here on what you said. Men are always quick to. Not necessarily. We are human beings, and each person is different. Sometimes it's the women who always see, let's say, your socks lying around. Sometimes you put it there, you don't even see it. Sometimes, let's say there's a speck on the floor, you don't see it, but a woman comes in there, they'll spot every single tiny spot on the floor. The key here is that you communicate about it in the nicest way possible, because I'll hammer on this over and over again. We got into a relationship to empower each other, to bring out the best from each other. So if there are character traits that are negative, the best thing to do is to communicate about that situation in the nicest way and be suggestive to say, oh, can we try this way? So you've tried something your way all this long and it hasn't worked. Can we try it this way as well? Don't say, can we try it my way? Can we try it this way? Because sometimes a lot of people are defensive. Hey, they might be your wife or your husband, but the moment you point out their fault, they will go on the defensive and defend themselves.
It's human nature.
So let's know, yes, it's human nature. And therefore, you need to know how to be diplomatic about it. You need to know how to be tactful about it. Use wisdom. If you don't have it, what does God say? God says, ask me, and I'll give it to you liberally. So it is really important to apply wisdom in marriage. Wisdom, love, and respect.
Yeah. Kobe Edu has a very interesting point here Kobe Edu says sometimes African love, and I want us to take note of the word African.
Let's put in quotation marks.
So we'll put African in quotes, just in case what we are saying is too westernized or too European. So Kobe says sometimes African love is different. Men can't leave relationship even when they see the red flag because of how much he has invested. How much he has invested on the woman. Women too pretend because of the man taking care of them. And that brings me to, I think this point is very...
It's a very good point.
It's a very good
really
point.
Good point.
And where my mind has gone to is our brothers and sisters who live abroad or in the diaspora who often have to bring somebody from back home. Or, your one person is abroad, the other person is back home. Oftentimes, we hear of what we call in our local language, nkwasiebuo. So and that's what he means by investment. You're abroad, you're struggling in the cold, in the snow.
Yes.
You're going to work, you're coming, you're doing all these things, sending huge sums of money back home to this person. You try and bring them abroad, only for them to arrive and now start showing you attitude. Yes. Start giving you all kinds of, attitude, doing all manner of things that you wonder, this is not the person I intended to get married to. But because of what you have invested, and again, let's put invest in quotes. Because of what you've invested in them, yes. Things are not going so well. This relationship, it might not end so well, but because my 15,000 euros has gone into bringing this woman abroad, I will go ahead and enter. For me, knowing what I know now, I would rather let that 15,000 euros go than to put my head into something.
What's 15,000 money?
Well, if it will cost you your happiness for the rest of the relationship that you're in.
That's right.
Happiness is key.
That's
right. Happiness is health.
That's right. And so, for me, what I would advise people is that you've got to be careful. You've got to be very careful. You should not be investing in anybody at the beginning of any relationship. Why would you invest in anybody anyway? What kind of investment? Why are we investing in people at the start of a relationship? We're supposed to be getting to know each other, trying to develop. And this is why we're saying, moving forward from now, everybody should develop themselves.
I would say that if you're there to help the person, you're helping them.
Some form of assistance.
Not an investment.
Yes.
Don't take it as if I'm investing so that I can reap the benefits.
Yeah.
This is where we fall short and we try to domineer over people. And we keep telling you, oh, I did your papers for you. Look at how you're treating me. I gave you $1,000. Look at how. And then we use that as a yardstick to judge them every single day. Whatever amount of money that you spent it out of love to get the two of you together. It can be from both sides. So I would rather focus on the issue at hand and deal with that issue, but not go back and refer them to a helping hand that you gave them during the courtship period or what you did to bring them abroad. African love is African love. Yes, I get it. But love is love across the whole world.
So
there are elements that we should look at to make our love, much more mature than it is.
Yeah.
If it's not going well.
And that's what Kumbi Ali Balagon is saying. Love has no price tag.
That's right. So, love is love.
Yeah. So don't go in with the mindset of make a boss sister yihoka, make a body hoka amanado. Yeah, I'm going to spend so much on them so that they will love me. That's not what love is about.
You can't buy love.
Yeah, you can't buy love. You can spend whatever amount you want, millions and billions on somebody. And if they don't love you in the long run, they just don't love you, period. And this is why many people are getting themselves into a mess in their marriages. And there's so much chaos and mayhem, particularly for those of us within the African community who live abroad. Now, let's narrow it down. Even within the Ghanaian community, we hear of these things where people have enslaved their partners, women who have enslaved men, men who have enslaved women. Why? Because I invested in you. I spent so much in bringing you. And so, but remember, the gap between you, the long distance relationship didn't allow the two of you to get to know each other that well. Now, all of a sudden, you brought them over. You're now getting to know them. This is why me personally, I have a bit of an issue with people who tend to leave, like we live abroad, and you leave here to go and find a wife back home, or you leave here to go and find a husband back home. I mean, there are several people, millions of people where you are, you couldn't find anybody there because you're going to spend so much investment to bring them over, only for you to now realize the true person you got married to. And if things don't work out, your so-called investment has gone in there. And at that point, what do? Are you going? This is why many people are walking around so bitter, so angry.
Yeah. What I'll add to that is that sometimes you find yourself in such a situation where you love someone back home and you can't help it.
My advice is that just the period of time that you court, don't leave it for far too long, because during that period, you might be speaking on phone, you might be doing video calls, but the true character of a person is not known by long distance relationship. So let's say you go back home and you find someone that you fall in love with, because nobody can control who you fall in love with. Let it be as quick as possible, 6 months to a year. Try and get them together with you so that you can start living together. Try and do all the necessary paperwork, all the marriage and the court ceremony and all that, and then get together in the quickest possible time. Because the more you spend time apart, the more they develop different characteristics that you are not aware of. It is only when you come and live under one roof that these true characters will come out.
And if it's not possible for you to do that, then also know and understand that you could be putting yourself into some kind of trouble when the two of you eventually start living together. So be ready that your investment might go down the drain. And thankfully, I mean, by God's grace, if it doesn't go down the drain and everything works okay too, then praise God. But that brings us to self-development. Even whilst they are back home and you are abroad, or whatever, you could both be in one location, but one is in one region, the other is in another region. Make sure you're talking about some of these things. Be developing, go deep, have deep conversations, get to know each other on a deeper level. Peel all the layers. Don't say, oh, because we are not married yet, let me save some of the conversations for when. No, peel deep, go deep, get to know. That is why in our local language they say, oh, kwa waria bisa. You have to ask questions.
And one of the ways that you can get to know a person is talk about the vision of the person.
Yeah.
You start asking them about their future plans. You start talking about how they
see their future. They are in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Start talking about, let's say if you want to have kids with the person, talk about children. Get to know the person on all these deep levels. And that is how you will get information to help you.
Yeah.
As we said, time is not on our side, and we're going to just hop on to a Zoom call. But yes,
two very important points that Samba again has raised. Samba, you've really engaged tonight.
Well done, Samba.
You and Kumbi. Kumbi says, unfortunately, some of us Africans don't understand what love means. It will appreciate moving forward. He will appreciate moving forward if we can elaborate and teach people the meaning of love in our dialects, so in our local language. Maybe
we can consider that in some of the weeks.
Yeah. Okay. And then somebody says, but Marie and Eric, it is easy to say that let it go, but it's not easy to bear and forget. Samba, we understand, but the question is, it's not easy to bear. It's not easy to forget. Yes, your hard-earned money has gone in, your blood, your sweat, your tears, everything, your energy has gone into this. It didn't work out. What are you going to do? Are you going to kill yourself? Are you going to end your life?
One thing,
or you're going to find strength to move forward, to continue to move forward with life?
One thing that I'll ask you is anything much more
pricier than your happiness in life?
Yeah.
That is what I'm leaving you with. So think over that. Let's make sure that we live a happy life, fulfilled marriage. Let it be blissful. And
it is possible.
It is so possible. So as we mentioned, we're going to jump onto a Zoom call, but I would like to invite all of you to this Zoom call. Today's date is 17th.
Today's the 17th.
Great. Yes. Bear with me on that date on there, but it's very similar to what I showed you earlier on. It's a Zoom call that we're going to have right now to do with personal. We're going to talk about what? Finances, basically. Let me put this over. So it's going to be the 17th, which is today.
Yeah.
but online freedom. Let me get the right poster and put it on there.
Yeah, so it's finances and a new opportunity that I'm sure many of you have heard us or have heard me be talking about on social media. It's a new social media platform. It's called Webtalk. It's very similar to Facebook, the setup. It's a combination of Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all on one platform.
That's right.
You can do all your activities on there, just like we do on Facebook. The only thing for now is you cannot make videos on there, live videos.
Yeah.
But otherwise, not everything is the same. You can put your posts, you engage with people, you like, you comment, you share.
That's right.
The good news is many of us have been on Facebook for quite a number of years. None of us have ever gotten a pound or a dollar, not even one Ghana cedi from there. But this time there's a new opportunity for us to make some money from this new social media platform. So yes, we've been signing some people. We're trying to get all our Facebook friends to move to here because we all need money. We all love money. Money is good.
I'm telling you, money is good.
And when I say we love money, not that we are worshiping money, but we need money. We need money to operate in life. Even the Bible says,
anybody that says money is not good, forget.
Yeah. There's a scripture in the Bible that says that money answers all things. But for the love of money is the root of evil. Right. So don't get me wrong when I say we love money. We love it in terms of, we want to we want to make more of it. Right. We want to make, because if you have more of it, then you're able to do more good. They always say, there's a saying that money is a magnifier. Money magnifies who you are. If you are a good person and you have money, you can do more good. If you are a mean person and you have money, you will even be more meaner. But many of us are good people. So we need more money to be able to do more good.
One thing that we're not taught in school is financial education. From primary school all the way through university, they don't actually teach us the life skills about money. And this is what we're going to talk about. We found one of the opportunities that will let you enjoy your life. I'm going to put the flyer back on here for us to note the Zoom meeting code. So at 8 o'clock, which is in the next 3 minutes, we're going to hop on, but note the number on there and join us. We put it on all the social media platforms. We put it on Facebook. You might have seen it on my page, Marie's page, or the Time with Eric and Marie page. We've also put it in several WhatsApp groups. So do well to note the number. The passcode is 495500. Do well to join us. I'm just going to leave that on just a little bit so that you can note the meeting ID as well. Meeting ID is 973-718-1884. I'll repeat, 973-718-1884. And the passcode is 495500.
Yeah. Let me just address a point here. So when I say that don't invest in anybody at the start of a relationship, there's a comment here that says that especially women look for men who can take care of them. Look, the world has moved forward. Love should not be based on whether you can take care of me or not. And that is why we're talking about self-development. Develop yourself. We have 3 daughters. We have always said to our daughters, especially when I am talking to them as their mother, I always say to them, before you go and ask a man to buy you £700 shoe or £1,000 bag, make sure you put yourself in a position where you can afford that for yourself first. So relationships, you see, it's all to do with our programming, the way we've been programmed, where because of poverty, and poverty also plays a role in that, but we'll carry on, God willing, not next week, the week after, or maybe next week if we have time.
That's right.
Poverty also plays a role in here where many women think, oh, I have found a source of financial, like that's my income. I'm going to be making money from this person. That's not what love is about. But we'll leave it at that for now. Enjoy your relationship, enjoy your marriage.
Thank you,
we'll catch you
so much, and God bless you. Just hop on to the Zoom side. We want all of you to be there so that we'll share this great opportunity with you. God bless you. Have a great week.
I'm going to put the link in here, so just copy the link and join us. God bless.